I asked my dad for a new sweatshirt, and his reaction broke my heart. I'm a 16-year-old boy, and like most teenagers, I have my wants and needs. My dad is 37, and our story is a bit different from most families. My dad never graduated high school. He lived in a bad neighborhood and got in with a bad crowd. He then spent a few years in prison. At the age of 21, my dad had me with my mom. My dad told me my mom abandoned me. When I tried reaching out to her, he advised me not to. She blocked me on Facebook. At 21, my dad had inherited his parents' trailer and a bit of their land, so we had a place to stay. Our trailer isn't a lot, but it's our home. My dad, due to his criminal record, has to work for a construction company. He's tried to climb up the ladder in the past years, but his criminal record and lack of education stopped him from doing so. I begged him to allow me to get a job, but he got angry at me saying he wasn't going to have his own child providing for him. My dad regrets his past, but he's always told me he can't change it. He's been the best dad in the world, and I appreciate him so much. He never got into another relationship so he could focus on taking care of me. A part of me feels guilty because he stopped his entire life for me. My dad doesn't make much money, we have a lot of bills, and he has some debts, so we don't have much wiggle room. Last time I got brand new clothes was on my 15th birthday. My dad took me shopping at Walmart with his stimulus check. I got a bunch of clothes. However, I guess you could call me a late bloomer, and I outgrew most of them. Mainly the shirts, because my shoulders broadened out, and it began hurting and stretching my clothes. I tried stealing some from the lost and found, but none fit me. When my dad got home, he made dinner, and while we were eating and watching TV, I asked him if we could buy a new sweatshirt or two. He gets this really saddened look on his face. To sum up the conversation, he explained that we really didn't have the money, and how we needed food, and he'd start putting aside some for a few months from now. I got pretty sad and disappointed and went to my room. I don't blame my father for any of our troubles. He's a great dad. I'm just frustrated at the situation. That's when I peeked my head out of my bedroom. My father was crying. I wanted to approach him and give him a big hug, but I've never been all that good with emotions. I've barely seen my father cry. I just went back to sleep. My father had been very adamant on me staying in high school, and I'm a good student. I get mainly A's, and I intend to go to college. Tomorrow, I'm going to write my dad a note and leave it to him before I go to school. I'm still deciding what I'm going to say because I'm still crying a little, but here's the gist. Hey Dad, I just want to thank you for everything you've done for me and all the sacrifices you made. I promise when I'm making a lot of money after college, we'll get out of this trailer and move into a big house. You can have all the Xbox games you want and finally have the childhood that was taken from you. I understand that everything you've done was to give me the things you never had, and I'm eternally grateful. Thank you for everything. I love you, Dad.
Another story.
Salesman didn't take me seriously when I was buying a car. He begged me to reconsider after he lost out on a massive sale. Recently, I received an extremely high promotion at my place of work. It came with a 70% raise and has honestly completely changed my life. I was born into a very poor household, and I never thought that I would be able to achieve stability like this. I'm 27 years old and my husband is 33. I've always looked on the younger side, and ever since we've been together, I've gotten very used to people addressing him as if he is my caretaker or something. For example, a couple of years ago, we were applying for a home loan, and the male banker literally spent the entire time speaking to my husband without even making eye contact with me once. It really bothers me since I feel like people will often ignore me and treat my husband like he's more important or intelligent than me. It's something that has continued happening over the years, and even though I try to assert myself and stand up for myself, it never stops. This week, after receiving my 4th paycheck with my new salary, I decided I wanted to lease my very first car. I've always been interested in luxury cars, and with all this new extra income, I was finally at a time in my life where I could make this dream of mine come true. Ever since I was 13, I've always wanted a sleek black Porsche for myself. So the other morning, me and my husband headed over to the Porsche dealership. I just felt defeated when we started speaking to the salesman, and he immediately started treating me like some kind of second-class citizen. Just like the banker, this man did not make eye contact with me even a single time. He didn't even go to shake my hand after shaking my husband's. Instead, he spoke exclusively to my husband, even though he and I spoke up multiple times to say that I was the one purchasing the car that day. It was like the salesman thought we were joking or something, and at one point, he was patting my husband on the back and saying that a man like him deserved a car like this. The longer this interaction went on, the more disrespected and exhausted I felt. It would have been a 6-figure sale, and I'm sure these dealership guys make a pretty good amount of commission, especially on luxury cars like this. I decided I really wanted this guy to feel hopeful while also wasting his time. So I pretended like we were interested in the car until the very last second, when I told my husband that I changed my mind right in front of the salesman, and we put the pen down on the paperwork and started walking out. The salesman was practically begging us on his knees to reconsider as we left his office. I just looked at him and told him that if he had actually taken the time to address the person who was actually buying the car, he would have made a sale today. He followed us out to the parking lot, still trying to convince us to come back in and buy the car. But I was done, and it felt good to roll my window up in his face as he continued to beg and plead for our time and money.